Hey, what do you say? It's another video about Martin Necas! Yay! Of course. Now, this video is going to be part Martin Necas talk, and it's also going to be part Montreal Canadiens defenseman talk, because when it comes to the latest update we had heard in regards to the Martin Necas trade sweepstakes, it was David Pagnotta on Twitter who went out there and said this: that as the Hurricanes are trying to carry out trade talks with teams about Necas, the word is the Canes are looking to complete a hockey trade, not a deal strictly for future assets. Teams like Nashville, Seattle, and Montreal are among those still believed to be in the mix. Now, just in case you needed a refresher, what is a hockey trade? Well, a hockey trade is pretty much fancy talk for a one-for-one trade. And in particular, it would be one-for-one, asset for asset that can actually be applied to the team right now. A player who is on the roster being traded one-for-one for another player who is on the other roster. No picks, no prospects, no extra stuff involved here. It's just straight up easy deal. Now, I get it. Martin Necas is a pretty valuable piece. He should be worth a lot on the trade market, but in a hockey trade, things get a little bit interesting. Because, of course, Martin Necas is a guy who, at his prime, he probably could get 75 to 80 points in a year. He is still young. He'll be re-signed to a big contract, so he'll be on the next team's payroll for 7 to 8 years. There's a lot going for Necas that makes him a positive asset. But because he is so good, because he is so elite, you could say, what exactly is it that the Carolina Hurricanes would be looking for in a hockey trade with the Montreal Canadiens? Now, we can talk about the Preds and the Kraken in other videos, but I wanted to focus more so on the Canadiens conversation here, because some of the replies go out there and try to answer that question straight up. Alex Walsh asked this: what would Seattle and Montreal offer in a hockey trade for Necas that makes sense for Carolina? Genuinely curious. The top reply says, Guhle or Matheson. Kaiden Guhle is who came to mind for me as well. Matheson, I don't know. He doesn't scream Carolina to me, but I also can't say I watched a ton of Montreal this year. They want a hockey trade, the reply says. And the interesting thing about this is that Kaiden Guhle isn't actually the only guy that is mentioned here. Matheson, if I were a contending team, adding a 50 to 60 point defenseman at $4.5 million like Matheson would entice me. Then, if you go over to some of the other conversations here, if Kaiden Guhle is traded for Necas, Zeev Buium is 95% picked. And this kind of plays into what the Canadiens can do at the draft table. Hey, if they trade away one of their top left-handed defenseman prospects, then there will be a few of them that are available in this year's draft at 5th overall. We had already seen rumors popping up that say that the Montreal Canadiens want a defenseman, or at least they're looking at potential defensemen to draft. They had taken Sam Dickinson out to dinner. Zeev Buium was reportedly on their list for 5th overall. If they trade away Kaiden Guhle, then that opens the door right away for a guy like Zeev Buium, who has maybe similar offensive potential to a guy like Lane Hutson, to be taken by the Canadiens in that spot. Now, on that note, when you want to talk about the hockey trade, okay, this actually does make sense because Martin Necas getting traded for a defenseman to help out the Carolina Hurricanes and their blue line makes a lot of sense to me. Guhle and Matheson are both left-handed guys. You can say that that's an area of need for Carolina, and the fact is, Kaiden Guhle's value is a lot better, I would say, if you want to go long-term, but if you want to go short-term, Mike Matheson is your guy right now. Matheson has 8 years on Kaiden Guhle, but he's got a heck of a lot more points. 62 points, 82 games played. Of course, the question is, if a guy like Mike Matheson goes over to Carolina, does he still produce 60 points a season? Does he go out there and he's not in the first power play anymore? He doesn't get the top pairing minutes anymore? Does his production significantly decline? Meanwhile, for Kaiden Guhle, you can say that realistically he will mold and become better into the future, so this would be a trade for not just the now, but also into the next few years. Is that worth what a Martin Necas is on the block right now? Is that a hockey trade that makes sense when you evaluate it both sides? Now, to expand a little bit more on the Kaiden Guhle, Mike Matheson trade idea, I wanted to revert your attention to this tweet made by Alex Jodoin. This was from yesterday, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it was yesterday, the 22nd. And it goes out there and summarizes a lot of the Montreal Canadiens fans' perspectives, because there's a lot of them, and some of them are quite contradictory. I'll summarize what I see on Twitter. Alex says, 1. You can't trade Mike Matheson. You need some veteran leadership. All right, fine. 2. You can't trade Kaiden Guhle. He's a future Shea Weber. All right, fine. 3. You can't trade Lane Hudson. That's fair, I wouldn't trade him either. 4. You can't trade Reinbacher. He's a unicorn and you need him in the playoffs. All right, fine. You already have 4 left-handed D that can play NHL minutes, and you also have to add Jordan Harris and Jaden Struble to this without mentioning that you also have Adam Engstrom in the system. At some point, you'll have to move someone. There's no sugarcoating it, but all I see is people expecting Harris and Struble to land you a top 6 forward. And so, this idea is going out there and proclaiming, hey, what are Canadiens fans talking about? What are you talking about Jordan Harris for Martin Necas? That's not going to work. He's not good enough to justify that price tag. The Carolina Hurricanes, if they wanted a guy like Jordan Harris in a Martin Necas trade, that trade would have been done 2 days ago. But no, that's not what they want. They want somebody that's actually able to contribute in a meaningful way now. They want elite talent now. Kaiden Guhle may not be the best of the best shutdown defensive wall defenseman like Shea Weber was right now, but he probably will be that soon. Mike Matheson is a 60-point defenseman. You can't really say anything wrong about that. So these are the guys that you can say would get a hockey trade done for Martin Necas. A 1-for-1 Guhle for Necas swap maybe gets it done. 1-for-1 Hudson for Necas swap. Maybe it doesn't get it done. I'd say that Hudson, because he has not really shown off too big of a sample in the NHL yet, I believe there's a benefit of the doubt that you could apply here. Reinbacher, he's a little bit of a different unicorn because he's not really the most offensively gifted, but everywhere else, I mean, he's so talented and he's so reckless towards the opponents that provides value in and of itself, right? But either way, when it comes to the idea of a Marty Necas trade and the Montreal Canadiens potentially getting in this in a hockey trade capacity, a 1-for-1 deal capacity for a defenseman, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the idea of the Canadiens trading one of Kaiden Guhle or Mike Matheson in a 1-for-1 swap for Marty Necas? Does this get done in your opinion? It fits all the criteria, but is it something that you vibe with? Do you like this idea? And if you were to see this happen, what do you think about this rebuttal here? If you trade away Kaiden Guhle, screw Caden Lindstrom, screw Ivan Demidov, the Canadiens are going Zeev Buium at number 5 to replace that left-handed defenseman spot. What are your opinions on this entire progression here, and how likely do you think it is that the Canadiens explore some sort of a trade? I mean, they have a whole bunch of guys who are already pegged in as options on this team. You can't have all of these guys forever, unfortunately. Somebody is going to have to move. When and where is that? Is it within the next few days here, and is it for a guy like Marty Necas? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. 99, and bye.